Few things in the modern NFL scare defensive coordinators like an athletic quarterback because it causes variance and breakdown that you can try to stop in any way possible, but oftentimes just cannot account for in the game plan. The days of Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees sitting in the pocket is done. Sure, it still exists, but we haven't had an elite quarterback develop who wasn't either the improviser or scrambler type in years. And before anyone says Herbert, he still ran a 4.68 and still has insane mobility for his size. When you go into a quarterback like Anthony Richardson's profile and you dig really, really deep, there isn't a precedent in this century of a quarterback with a sub 53 completion percentage who got top 5 draft capital. And not only this, on the off chance that any quarterback who threw for a 53% completion percentage or lower made it to the NFL, the bucket is absolutely terrible. So it seems like Richardson, in theory, would be an outlier to hit in the modern NFL. But despite this, his physical tools are undeniable. In the modern NFL, there seems to be a type of quarterback. Long gone are the days of guys who I said can just sit in the pocket. D-lines are just too athletically gifted in the modern era to have a Tom Brady or Peyton Manning play style type of quarterback to work again. The fact that defenses are catching up and getting faster and better, as proven by the fact that 2022 was the lowest offensive output since 2010. You're not going to compete and score at will with guys who sit in the pocket. Offensive lines are extremely undertalented and outmatched based on how much defensive line slash edge talent has come into the league the past 15 or so years. There are guys like 600 pounds, or not 600, but what I meant to say is 6'6", 300 pounds of abs coming into the modern NFL. And there's a new type of quarterback taking over the league. And I know that Carolina is probably happy with Bryce Young, and Houston is probably happy with C.J. Stroud, but neither profile with strong rushing peripherals as prospects. Therefore, I think the theory of Richardson number 1 overall would have made a lot more sense to me. No disrespect to Young and Stroud. The Panthers and Texans both committed to them strongly with their capital, especially Carolina with the trade up, And granted, these teams interviewed their quarterbacks. They talked to them. They got to know them personally during the pre-draft process. And I'm not the one running an NFL team, although I'm of the belief that teams would be stupid not to be desperate to draft the next Herbert or Allen or Mahomes despite the risk involved, especially in the uber-talented AFC. And Ballard fighting to show that he belongs as a GM in the NFL after the past few years have not gone how anyone in that building in Indianapolis had hoped. Anthony Richardson was my QB1 of this year's draft class. Elite quarterback talents are what give you a chance to be competitive year in and year out. Think about the Chargers and how clear as day lost their coaching staff was, but they still made it to the playoffs. Why? Well, it becomes easier when you have a freak with a cannon, which, by the way, is what Anthony Richardson is, and we'll talk about that. He's got all the tools. But what'll separate him from being in the, okay, we got this totally wrong category like Malik Willis or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, a part of that tier, what will separate Anthony Richardson from that tier is consistency. He is an elite athlete with great escape ability, great pocket presence, absolute cannon. He's kind of a coach him up like Madden franchise type dream for guys like Steichen, who at this time last year, the tune on Hurts was overwhelmingly negative, but he turned it around. And who was his offensive coordinator that created a prolific rushing attack that at points this year seemed borderline unstoppable? Additionally, Anthony Richardson seemed to be let down by his receivers and skill position guys semi-regularly. I remember a handful of drops from those games, and that being said, the accuracy issues are clearly apparent when you watch him. He misses easy layups sometimes. He's incredibly raw and very, very well may never develop into what I personally think he could and he will. But he has the elite tools that you dream of. There are a lot of athletic quarterbacks, but what if I told you that Anthony Richardson will be the benchmark of quarterback athleticism going forward? Not an exaggeration. He is the most athletic quarterback ever. So Anthony Richardson is wildly inaccurate. There are many examples of this when you watch him just beyond his 53% completion percentage. A stereotype about him is that he can't read defenses, which just simply is not true. There are multiple cut-ups and breakdowns of guys on YouTube breaking down his ability to read defenses, and he is clearly a developed football mind, so that's both a positive and a negative. It's a negative that despite the fact that he's smart when it comes to football, he was historically inaccurate. But it's a positive because if you are able to fix him, you know that the ceiling is through the roof. And for reference, I don't try to pretend I know what I'm looking for when I watch film, but there's several other guys on YouTube who do know what they're looking for. And when they break down Anthony Richardson and his ability to play against certain types of defenses, he's great. His pre-snap reads are on point. He has great pocket presence. He's not jumpy. But the thing that sticks out and why he was taken fourth overall by the Indianapolis Colts, despite his passing peripherals not being strong at all, is because his rushing capability is just unbelievable. He doesn't go down. And there was a quarterback out of Philadelphia this year, coached by Steichen, who I mentioned, who seemed to win every third and short, every fourth and short. And him and JT should be a menace on the field together if JT ends up staying, which I don't know if he will. I don't think he stays, and it's probably a less than 50% chance he even suits up for the Colts this year. But the rest of this Colts skill position group is pretty good. I liked, not loved, Downs early in the pre-draft process, and hopefully Anthony Richardson's arm strength can unlock Pittman's vertical ability that we saw in 2021. And they had the highest paid offensive line in the league last year, which massively underperformed. But I still think this was a great ecosystem for Richardson to go to, even above Carolina and Houston, both of whom are very, very devoid of offensive talent in general. So does Anthony Richardson profile as a high-volume passer at the next level? No, he does not. That is a resounding no, actually. And even if he does get going as a passer, I don't think we'll see it fully unleashed until next year. But I'm still betting on this guy's ceiling. A bet on Richardson for the Colts is a bet on Chris Ballard trying to save his job. For draftniks and dynasty players like me and sports bettors, a bet on Richardson is a bet on philosophy. And I live in Las Vegas, so I will throw something on Richardson to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Granted, Bijan is insane, and running backs are notoriously volatile, which is why I think Anthony Richardson might be the best value bet right now. But Bijan is unreal, although it's more of a hedge for me to bet on Richardson over Bijan because I have Bijan on my main dynasty team. So, yeah, I don't know. But assuming the Colts perform well this year and Richardson is able to have, even if he has like a lesser Justin Fields season from last year, where, if you remember, Fields rushed for over 1,000 yards and had the 10th worst passer rating in the league, then I think Richardson's going to be a lock for Offensive Rookie of the Year because Justin Jefferson 3 years ago had the best rookie wide receiver season of all time. Yet who won Offensive Rookie of the Year that year? It was Justin Herbert. So obviously awards are biased towards quarterbacks, and Anthony Richardson was named the starter for Week 1. He doesn't have a hard division to deal with. Yes, Jacksonville looks good, but their defense is going to have to take a step forward. And Anthony Richardson at plus 600 odds right now to win Offensive Rookie of the Year is my favorite bet in the whole world of futures gambling. But last but not least, I want to share a story about Richardson that kind of seemed to fly under the radar. He was attending rookie orientation, and apparently this incoming crop of rookies is a very, very messy one. They all supposedly had dinner at a hotel and absolutely trashed the room, but Richardson stayed to help. As somebody who does barback and bussing for a living, reading this absolutely made my day, and I'm jealous of not only the high-ceiling player the Colts are getting, but the character as well. I don't know what Richardson is going to be in the NFL, but I do know what he can be, and his potential is absolutely out of this world. I feel like we got burned by Malik Willis because last year's quarterback class was so weak, and we were just looking for literally any semblance of hope, and then he drops to the third round, and we're like, okay. And then he looked lost when he was in Tennessee. But yeah, so obviously we have those guys I mentioned like Lance and Wilson who did end up missing as high draft picks, even though people swore by their tools. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, like I said, this is more of a bet on philosophy more than anything else. And I do really like the Anthony Richardson pick for the Colts. I think, like I said, this is a good ecosystem. I wholeheartedly believe that Indianapolis made the right pick, especially when they have to go up against Herbert, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and all those other insane guys. But yeah, so that basically does it for me. I will see you guys next time. Peace.